So thanks everyone, thanks for coming in. And IBM Cloud Object Storage is formerly known as CleverSafe. I don't know if everyone is familiar with what we offer, but basically today we're going to be talking about improvements in your CDN performance and your cost efficiencies. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the background of our company and of our product. So thanks for everyone coming down. IBM Cloud Object Storage. I see. I've got a demon on my screen here. IBM Cloud Object Storage, a little bit of background about CleverSafe. We're a software company that was created in Chicago in 2004, and we've been in business since about 2008 shipping product. We're a software-defined storage company. So our storage is not the hardware, it's not the big boxes and so on. It's software that runs on your hardware. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. It's on standard 86 hardware. And some of our notable milestones, we've got 400 patents. Now, for IBM, that's a small number of patents. But for Cloud Object Storage, the original CleverSafe, with 200 people, 400 patents is amazing. And one of the reasons why we have so many patents is that object storage is not simple. There are a lot of folks who build object storage systems in their garage using SwiftStack. It works great until you get to a certain point, and then it starts to fall over. Gartner has recognized us as being one of the, in the upper right-hand quadrant of their curve. And we can scale to multiple exabytes, and now we're also working on zettabytes. And when you think about what that is, it's unimaginable how much data that is. But if you think about every day, there are 50 years of new videos going on YouTube. That's amazing. That's an amazing increase in speed. And we were acquired by IBM in 2015. I joined about that time, and it's been a really great ride. What are some of the benefits? We're the scale leader. We have customers today who are doing hundreds of petabytes, literally around the world, photo sharing, user-generated content, cloud DVR, hundreds of petabytes of storage. We can scale to exabytes, and we are protected storage. So it's encrypted, and it's also protected using erasure coding. We're the security leader. Basically, you have zero-touch carrier-grade encryption, and we're using AES encryption, but we have our own special sauce that works in real time for encryption of content on the drives. Literally, you could ship a drive to Putin, and he would never be able to understand what's on that drive. Management leader, basically, when you look at NAS and SAN, it takes a lot of people to run those systems. In our case, we'll have a data manager who might spend a few hours a week managing a system from a single pane of glass. So we've got folks at some of our customers who literally said we could reduce staff in that area incredibly and expand the amount of content that we're handling. The availability, when you look at the way erasure coding works, it's not like RAID where you're rebuilding drives all the time. You're actually slicing up the data into little chunks and you're spraying it across hundreds, thousands of disks. So we've got the ability to withstand failures of disks, entire regions. So if we have an east region and a west region, like one of our competitors had, and the east region went down, you can still get all your data on the west region, and it's not two separate regions, it's one single namespace. So erasure coding gives us that. Economics, basically there's a single copy of content, not multiple copies as you would in a RAID system where you have a main, a backup, and a protect. We have a single copy of content with 40% overhead, and it's basically raw to usable is about 40%. And we, again, over 400 patents. We use agile development in our operating system, and that has been developing for several years. again, the clear market leader for object storage. If you look way over on the right side on the chart, basically we're in the upper right-hand corner of that chart in terms of how we're analyzed by the analysis companies. Not to get too much into it, IBM Cloud Object Storage is built on the following building blocks. There's a manager, which handles fault management reporting. It's everything that the user interface looks at. The accessor, which is the actual worker that slices up the data, encrypts the data, sends it to all the different locations, and then rebuilds the video and the content that you have on storage in real time. It's got several interfaces. It's got an S3 interface, just like a AWS S3. It's got a Swift interface, so that if you want to use Swift Stack interface, you can. And then finally, the slice stores. They are storage for slices of data, and those slices of data, it can be sprayed across multiple data centers, across regions, and so on. And IBM's cloud offering has that sprayed across regions. So you can have Ashburn, San Jose, Dallas, and you can spray the content across those. Even if San Jose falls off the earth, unfortunately, you still have the other two, and you're still up. So it's like I said before, it's software-defined storage, so we can run on IBM hardware, Cisco, Hewlett-Packard, Seagate, and Ericsson. In Seagate, we have an 84-drive enclosure in 5RU, and that is very dense. And when you begin to use multiples of that, you really save space and power in your data center. We have predictable performance. Production, you get up in a couple of days' time if you're doing it on-prem. And there's a single pane of glass. We offer it in 3 varieties. There's an on-prem version, and that was the original product of CleverSafe, an on-prem storage system that is the archive, is the storage behind the storage. We also offer it now in cloud. So we've taken that same storage, put it on the IBM Bluemix cloud, or we can provide a hybrid version. So you can start on-prem, extend to the cloud, and you have a single namespace across the entire your entire storage, so that you don't have the on-prem piece and the cloud piece and you try to figure out where pieces are. It's a single namespace across both, which is really great. So you can start with your content on-prem and then extend it into the cloud. And that gives you a lot of flexibility, especially if you want to scale up and down quickly. So you need, like, say, 10 terabytes, and you want to go to, say, 500 terabytes, you can scale that up in a hurry, then you can scale that back down. You only pay for what you use in the cloud. So again, we've got the flexibility, scalability, simplicity, and it's on-premise would be single tenant. There's a dedicated offering, which is single tenant in the cloud as far as you're concerned, or we have public cloud, which is a multi-tenant approach. So what that means is that one day you can use 10 terabytes, another day you might need 500 terabytes. And so you've got that capability of the scalability on that. As I said before, we've got 4 data centers that offer the cloud version of our storage. The West Coast, San Jose. We've got 2 data centers in Dallas. We can provide a regional backup in Dallas between the 2 data centers there. And then we've got Washington, D.C. and Ashburn. And so basically our accessor will spray data across all 3 or all 4 nodes, so that if one of those data centers goes down, you can still replicate your content from the other 2 data centers. We've also got a worldwide footprint. And a lot of customers like this because they can build a system in the States, they can build a system in Europe, and they can use the IBM backbone to transfer content from one region to another. So say you've got customers that are in Southeast Asia, they might be sending videos back to New York or San Francisco. You can use the IBM network to move that content back, and then from there you can replicate your content in the North American region. We've also got coverage in Canada with Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal. So we have 3 data centers there as well. So we can provide that. If there's a data residency requirement for Canadian customers, you've got that covered. And we've got security, high-speed network, it's built in, and then your access is internet or a dedicated pipe to our data centers from yours. So again, we've got always on, built-in security, better cloud storage economics, and simplicity. One of the questions that customers say is, well, what if we need to do an update? What if we need to update the software, right? Because you have a software product, right? And we're getting updates all the time. Well, we can take down San Jose, do the update. You're still operating from the East region and Central region. And then we bring San Jose back up with the new software, bring down Dallas, do the update there, bring that back up, bring down DC, and bring it back up. And now we've done a software revision with no downtime at all. I think that's a pretty cool thing. If we compare, basically, because we have an on-prem and a cloud-based solution, we can provide, object storage is multi-region. We also have, so if we look at Amazon, you can go multi-region with Amazon too, but it's a 2x proposition. For us, we're multi-region on our base offering. And also we can do single tenant, or we can do multi-tenant, and we can do on-premise plus cloud version, and no one else can do that. So we've got in hybrid, only Azure has hybrid, but that's read-only. Again, we sell it in various levels. So there's the standard vault and cold vault. And for customers who don't know which data model they have, we can use Flex. So we go for about 6 months with Flex, find out what your data type is. If you're a vault, we put you into vault. But in that first 6 months, you're protected against egress charges. So I think that's a good thing. It definitely helps a lot of our customers to understand what kind of data they have. We also offer the IBM Bluemix Garage, which is a testing platform. If you want to test a concept out and set it up, you can use the Bluemix Garage to do some testing. So here's how it works. I've talked a little bit about the structure and so on, but we've got objects that are coming in, might be video, might be music, might be photos, you name it. We've got the objects coming in. We can bring the objects in through your app if it talks S3 or if it talks Swift. And also we have an Hadoop replicator. So if you've got Hadoop databases that you want to store the Hadoop data and archive that, we can do that. And also we plug into the GPFS, the IBM high performance file system that plugs in. And if you look at the top, we've got, say, our 12 storage devices on the far right. Those are running, they're up and running, we're spraying data across that. If we lose one of those sets of storage instances, like the San Jose facility, we're still up, and we can even lose another data store in one of the other facilities, but we still are up and reading and writing and operating at full bandwidth, which is really cool. So if we look at the way traditional storage works, we've got, say, 1 terabyte of usable data. That'll get spread out into a main, a backup, and a protect storage. And in the case of cloud object storage, we'll do the same thing. We'll slice it up, and then we'll put it on a lot less storage. Now this piece is interesting because if you're doing a main copy and a backup copy and a third copy, you're at 3.6 terabytes for 1 terabyte usable. In our case, we have 1.8 terabytes total, which is we have like a 0.8% overhead. And that basically shows you that we have the ability to scale, and that we have a single copy of content, not multiple copies. Essentially, traditional storage, you've got logo hardware, which is going to be expensive. We're commodity hardware. It takes more raw storage to support the 1 terabyte, and we have a more efficient storage. And a lot of other benefits. There's no downtime for updates and so on. So there's a lot of good reasons for that. This basically says the same thing if you're storing content on RAID. We can actually cut your storage costs by about 70%. So let's talk about media entertainment. Now, a couple of things that we're talking about here: video production and distribution, we're working with a number of partners, Marquis, EVS, Adobe, and Avid. And we're able to support nonlinear editing, support camera acquisition and content ingest, and we're the archive behind your high-performance storage. Again, remote content archive, we can plug into multiple different streaming video playout and acquisition modules from eBirths, from SAM, from Imagine. Media asset management, essentially with media asset management, we either have an S3 API, as in the case of EMAM and Reach Engine, or we can be on the ESPERA connector for many of these MAMs. So we basically have native compatibility with a number of different MAM systems in the industry. And then finally, if you work with us on cloud, we can bring Watson Cognitive. And we have speech to text, facial recognition, we have automated metadata ingest and closed captioning with Telestream. So these are some of the benefits that we have for media asset management and so on in media. As everyone knows, video resolution is mushrooming, the amount of data is mushrooming. As we go from, say, HD to 4K, it's a 4-time increase in storage. If we're going to 5K and 6K with some of the cameras today, the storage is really increasing. So we're looking at the archive storage, and high definition was 450 gigabytes per hour if it was raw uncompressed. If we look at your standard 4K, it's literally 4 times that, 1,700 gigabytes per hour. And then if we go to, say, 4K high frame rate, it goes up from there. So, and then if you add high dynamic range, you add about 25% to each format. And what's happening is that the amount of data storage is really skyrocketing today. And we can scale to meet the needs of tomorrow. Here's an endorsement from Sky UK, and they're using Cloud Object Storage as our archive across the entire enterprise for video content, and they can move content in and out relatively quickly. Here are some use cases, and the one I'm talking about today is CDN origin storage, and we'll talk about that in a little while. We've got media asset management, production archive storage, storage as a service. We're also big in cloud DVR. I've got one slide on that, and also we have archive for Hadoop. And if we look at, if we're integrated with MAM, I had mentioned this before, we can plug in directly to ESPERA and that talks to us. And so I call ESPERA the easy button for IBM Cloud Object Storage and MAM. And basically it's a write process and a read process, and we can be the remote archive. Cool thing about ESPERA is it gives you the full bandwidth of your pipe. With TCP/IP, for a lot of crazy reasons, if you just go TCP/IP and you want to move content across, say, a 1 gigabit pipe from here to Asia, the farthest link there to Japan, it's almost impractical to move big files around unless you have ESPERA. In this case, if you do have ESPERA and you have a 1 gigabit per second pipe, you can move in 1.4 minutes across the network. And essentially, we've got an on-prem archive, we've got a cloud archive for your MAM, and then finally, we can do multi-tenant archives. So if you have multiple MAMs, that will work out fine. And these are some of the MAM vendors that we work with. We've also got CDN storage for your streaming applications. So let's talk about those. We've got distribution storage, long-tail content, long-term mezzanine archive, and archive content management storage. So IBM Cloud Object Storage uses an HTTP GET for delivery, so we can natively stream content straight from the storage. We can provide thousands of terabytes of storage and high bandwidth. For long tail, if you think about how much content there is in the long tail, it could be 100 times or 1,000 times more content in long tail than in your top 10. So IBM Cloud Object Storage is inexpensive and it's perfectly well suited for your long tail content. You can actually use it as an origin server, so you're in pretty good shape on that. And it provides the lowest cost long-term archive with 100 megabit or 100 milliseconds to first byte. That's really key. We have deep mezzanine content storage, so you take your big source content, you can store that for long periods of time, and you can actually provide a backup to your content provider. And then finally, finished package. Once you spend all this time to create all these packages, you want a place to put it. You might have multiple versions, you might have different ratings, you might have languages. And so this is a good spot for that. Also, IBM Cloud Object Storage works with a lot of cable operators for cloud DVR. And we've got Watson to provide us with analytics, and finally Enterprise as Storage Service. And if there are any questions, I'd like to take them now.
We have time for a quick question. All right, I'm coming over with the microphone. Hit us.
Thank you. Eric here. Can you help me understand a little bit more about having this as an origin for the CDN? How that works when you slice it up like that?
Okay.
You fetch from one site or multiple sites?
Right, with the CDN, typically if you're a content provider or streaming, you've got a streaming application, you would have an on-prem version of the storage at your location, and then you would be connected via your dedicated pipe to the CDN. So you can do it that way, or you could co-locate your storage with your CDN vendor and then provide it that way. Or lastly, you can put it in the IBM cloud and use IBM's bandwidth to actually bring that to your CDN and then get it distributed out into the network.
Okay, we can do one more if it's quick. Anyone have a quick question for Bruce? All right, round of applause for Bruce from IBM, making a complex topic simple.